Hi.
Welcome to Why Are We Like This, a Heartstopper podcast. I'm Ashley, she, her.
And I'm Alyssa, she, they. And today we are here to talk about episode 4, Secret.
Welcome to mid-season.
Mid-season, we are halfway through.
Yep.
Yeah. So this episode, like all of the others, it was written by Alice Oseman and directed by A. Ross Lynn. And fun fact, this is the first time that the IMDb and Netflix descriptions have been identical.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so this is the one where, according to both IMDb and Netflix, Charlie and Nick agreed to keep their relationship a secret at school while Nick figures things out. Nick's friend Imogen asks him out on a date. Or, as I would like to call it, the one with the proper full-on gay crisis and rugby.
Yeah. There's a lot of rugby in this.
A lot of rugby. We, our previous episode was our Ask a British Person episode / Ask a Rugby Player episode. And man, I forgot everything. I'm sorry, Georgie. We love you. I forgot everything.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on.
I feel, okay, no, to Georgie's credit, I feel like I have a slightly better grasp of understanding.
Yeah.
So that when I had to Google how scoring works, when they were talking about the different ways of scoring, I understood what they meant. But, yeah. But, before we get to all of the rugby.
Yes. We start off right where we left off.
Right where we left off. I love that because normally, there's, some kind of audio that comes in before, while they're doing the, title cards and everything. Not the title cards, the, production cards. I love that it's the sound of the rain. I love the, sound design of it.
Yeah.
And I also, it's also great because rain plays such a massive role in this episode in so many ways. So we hear the rain, and then it picks up with Charlie's just, incredulous, huh?
What the fuck? Yeah. This is
hi.
the last thing he thought that he was going to see on the other side of that.
He thought it was going to be the fucking mailman or something. Some, door-to-door vacuum salesman or something.
Right. And then we immediately get the title card.
Yes. I think this one might be my favorite.
Yeah?
Yes.
It's good.
It's good. I love the rain.
Yeah.
I love the way that the raindrops form the letters. I really like that shade of blue. That might have something to do with it also. When it came up, I was like, ooh, this might be my favorite. So it felt worth noting.
It is a good one. I don't think that I've thought about rating them yet. I'll have to get back to you on that. But it is one that sticks out in my mind.
We should kind of flag that as something to think about for our season wrap-up, is all the title cards.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
So, Charlie pulls Nick inside. He's like, you're getting soaked, come inside. But they still don't shut the door.
They still don't. And I'm like, what?
No wonder Jane comes through in a minute, because, why has the door been open for, 10 minutes?
Yeah. And I don't love Jane. At all. No. But in this scene, I don't love Jane. But I don't blame her for being excuse me.
Yeah.
You don't pay for the energy for this home.
Exactly.
Shut the fucking door.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we learned that Nick didn't check the weather before running to Charlie's house. And that is why he is soaking wet.
Yeah, I love his face whenever Charlie asks, oh, have you forgotten your coat? Nick looks like he's forgotten how to talk, let alone remembering to bring a coat. He has no idea how to form words at this point.
Although, in a few scenes, Charlie is not one to judge. So,
right.
And we'll get there. I have some things to say about some of Charlie's choices, but we'll get there. Anyway, so Charlie kind of jokingly calls Nick an idiot, and Nick goes on a journey.
Yeah.
There's just this face journey that's happening. There's very clearly some internal dialogue, which I like to imagine is, yes, of course I'm a fucking idiot. You kissed me and I ran away and I didn't call you and I didn't text you and I'm a fucking idiot and now I'm soaking wet in your front hallway.
Yeah. It really is a journey.
It is.
he has gone on a journey, to be fair.
Yeah. He wants to talk about last night. Enter Jane Spring.
Wait, first, as soon as he says, so about last night, Charlie deflates. And he is, like, folding in on himself and bracing himself for the absolute worst.
Yes, this is...
Jane comes through.
I'm gonna bring this up later, but, like, I feel like he just immediately starts practicing his apology speech.
Yes. That he's probably been formulating all night.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
It's just, he fell asleep repeating that like a mantra. He woke up and was brushing his teeth, repeating that. It's been the only thing in his mind since he got home.
And when Jane comes around the corner, he looks for just a split second. He looks like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
He's like, oh shit, my mom's here.
Yeah. Jane didn't know that Nick was coming over. I will say he gets that deer in headlights look and then he recovers quite quickly because he has that, he's here to pick up a jumper that he left last week real quick.
Yeah, while Nick's brain is still doing the like spinny loading sign.
And then Jane sucks.
Yeah, but this does lead to, I think this is my favorite Nick admiring Charlie moment of season 1.
Yeah.
Because she says, you know, like, okay, but we're going to see your grandma, so, like, make it fast. And also, you could change out of your pajamas. And when she says that, Nick takes in Charlie in his pajamas, and he fully, like, blushes and is, like, having a moment about it. And then he looks up, and Charlie's looking at him, and he gets so embarrassed that he got caught.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, so pure, and there's, like, the, like, domestic vibe to it because he's like at his house in his pajamas and stuff, and it's just like sweet and pure, and I love that moment.
That's really sweet. I hadn't really picked up on that because I was too busy being mad about Jane and thinking about how this is because this is the first time that we see Jane.
Yeah.
And so they're doing a really good job of like planting this seed that kind of comes throughout in the comics of how she's really hypercritical of Charlie, especially. I mean, she's hypercritical of Tori as well in like Solitaire and in the comics, but it really hits Charlie hard, and it's a really nice, like, subtle detail. And I think that the actress does a good job of the nuance of you could have at least changed out of your pajamas. Like, it's not disgust, and it's like she thinks that she's coming from a well-meaning place, but the impact therein is not good. So even though I don't like it.
Also, like, what fucking time is it? Like, how long has he had to really change out of his pajamas?
I mean, I interpret it as, like, she's saying, like, oh, if you knew he was coming over, you could have at least changed before he got here. But it's like, fuck right the fuck off.
Right, yeah.
Like, he was brushing his teeth, so clearly, even if this, you know, I mean, obviously, we know that it's spontaneous, but, like, so clearly Nick is early or something, because Charlie was still getting ready.
Right.
So, I feel like there's some, like, suspension of disbelief there. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
On Jane's part. Sorry, suspension of disbelief on Jane's part. I realized after I finished my sentence that was not clear. They go up to Charlie's room. Well, Nick says they should. Charlie says they should go up to his room, and Nick goes first. And then Charlie checks his hair in the mirror. Which prompted me to bring up a side note because my husband and I were watching the first 3 episodes last night because he said he wanted to watch it. Finally, I'm so pleased. And we watched Meet, Crush, and Kiss. And during Kiss, when Charlie's at the party and he's checking his hair in the mirror before he finds Nick, Eddie said, Charlie checks his hair a lot for someone whose hairstyle is, I just rolled out of bed. Which is not an inaccurate statement, but I love it. Like, I love that him checking his hair a lot when he's around Nick is a character.
Yeah. There's a lot of parallels in this, I think.
Yeah.
In this episode. I wrote down a couple.
Yes, I did as well.
So Nick starts to take off his soaking wet hoodie and it like slides his shirt up some. And Charlie's eyes like go huge
and then they go down.
Down, yeah, away. Abort mission.
Do not look.
Pure panic.
Yep. And Nick is wearing a Vans shirt, which he wears them frequently, but I think this is the first time that I actually, like, noticed it.
Clocked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nick he just says the word so, and Charlie immediately jumps in and has a speech.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't write it down word for word because the thought of doing that made me cry, and so I paraphrased. But Charlie says he wasn't thinking properly about what he was doing and that it was stupid and that he doesn't want Nick to feel awkward about it because it was all Charlie's fault. And then he says that he says, I shouldn't have kissed you. And Nick looks so sad.
Yeah, his face crumbles. He just hears that and immediately starts thinking that Charlie doesn't feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know what? The feelings like flip in that moment where he's like, did I overstep? And then Charlie continues and it becomes clear that he thinks he's overstepped.
Yes. And the way that Charlie is spiraling out loud, it's so real.
Yeah.
It like the way he's like putting words in Nick's mouth and assuming like I've been in a bit of an anxiety spiral for the last couple days. And so it just really spoke to me as I've been working through that myself right now.
Right.
I'm like, this is exactly what I'm doing. It actually, watching it this morning, I was like, oh, I'm doing that. I should apply my therapy skills and coping mechanisms and stop doing that. But that's
so easy to get sucked into that spiral though.
Yes. But the way that it's done where he's like, you probably just felt pressured to kiss me and you probably never want to talk to, and I'm like, this is so good. And also the writing, the dialogue is excellent, and Joe's delivery just seals the deal on how excellent and how accurate it is. It's just the way it's just literally, it's just coming from here out here. There's no filter. It's just, oh, it's so good. It's so good.
And he's frozen in his spot, but he's also super fidgety.
Yes.
So he just really sells the body language of it all too.
It's so good. And you can tell that Nick not only wants to tell him that he's wrong, but also is I don't know what to do right now. In terms of just how do I help Charlie?
Yeah.
And so he does the classic thing that you do when you want to get someone to shut up. You grab them and you kiss them.
Yes.
But in a good way, not in a shitty way like Ben.
Yeah, so this is one of the parallels that's perfectly parallels to Boyfriend when Charlie is trying to stop Nick from his nervous rant. I love them so much.
I love them. Yes. So anyway, he grabs his face and stares into his soul. He is trying to telepathically communicate in that moment. You've got this all wrong. Lovingly.
Mm-hmm. And it also is just a beat for Charlie to consent too.
Yeah.
He could have pulled away, but he took that beat to make sure it was okay first.
And I think even after that beat where Charlie stops and is not pulling away or anything, there is this little moment of hesitation on Kit's part where he just kind of goes, but there's a pause.
Yeah.
And then he re-enters the movement and goes into the kiss just absolutely certain. And I loved it because it's this really subtle thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it does a really good job of telling us where Nick is at in his thought process and in his journey.
Right.
And then we get the iconic shot of Charlie up on his toes.
Yeah. It's so good.
Yes. And then as they're pulling apart, we see the sunshine coming through the window, in between them. And I loved the framing of it. It made me very, very happy.
And their lips are stuck together.
Yeah. And then Nick starts apologizing. And then we get the iconic line that Nick is having a proper full-on gay crisis. Aren't we all, Nick?
Yeah. And that's when Charlie's look goes from fully confused to sympathy.
Yes. And right, I need to be here for this person in this moment as the elder gay of the situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, I mean, the way that Joe's face looks in this whole scene. Like you see that shift. I'm very happy that Kit won an Emmy. Can we now get one for Joe?
For Joe, yeah, I
Please. Agree. I get that they made the choice to campaign for the two of them both to get lead actor, and that was a choice, and they had their reasons for it, for good or for ill.
Mm-hmm.
But can we please get Joe an Emmy for this show? Please?
Yeah, because his performance is also
excellent.
So fucking good.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, Nick also spirals, but for me, it feels more like a catharsis, where clearly he's been having this internal dialogue, and this is the first time he's able to process any of it out loud.
Yeah, for sure.
And Charlie is the only person he can do that with. And
it definitely feels like he's unloading a massive weight.
Yes, and you can like see it in his posture and his physicality as well. And the way that after he finishes all of it, he just breaks. Like my note is, when Nick Nelson cries, I cry.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Because that is a true statement about myself. Like it feels so real, and I love everything about the way that Charlie like responds, where he just like sits there and like it's just a look of like, whatever you need, I'm here. And then Nick just like goes and like breaks down on his shoulder, and Charlie just has him.
Yeah.
And it's like so gentle and tender in the ways that we've seen Nick be gentle with Charlie before.
Right.
And I love it. And I just want to hold them and tell them it's all going to be okay.
I also love the moment that, so like the first time that he like falls into Charlie and starts crying, I feel like it was more of like, he didn't really think about it. It just happened.
Yeah.
And then as he's laying there crying, he starts to think like, oh, is this okay? And he lifts up and looks at Charlie, and Charlie just gives him the most like supportive and caring smile.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm all in. And so then he can finally just like let it all out and be safe and not have to worry.
And
it's just so beautiful.
I know. And I can't help thinking about how hard it must be to kind of like have your queer awakening be your best friend.
Yeah.
Because there's so many complicated things in that. Like, at least for me, it was like fucking like movie stars and celebrities and stuff.
Right,
and so
yeah,
there was no like risk in the ways in which I had to process things. And we're going to do a whole episode on this. But like, for this all to be happening and to be processing it in this way with the person that it's about.
Yeah.
Oh my, it must be so hard, because I'm sure in this, there's also this fear of like, am I royally fucking all of this up?
And that's just a risk you have to take when it's someone that you're close to, which is another theme between Tal and Elle as well.
Yes.
Is that it's such a risk to take, and is it worth it?
Yeah. So then it cuts to, they're back down in that like front hall area because Nick is leaving, and he starts to ask, is it okay if we... And Charlie finishes, keep this a secret. And Nick feels so guilty.
He really
feels
does.
So bad.
Yeah, he even looks away. Like, he can't keep looking at him.
And Charlie says that it's okay. And, like, looking at his face, I believe him. I can tell that there's, like, a bit of this, like, memory of what happened with Ben. But I also can tell that Charlie doesn't feel like it's the same.
Right. And Nick... like I said, can't look at him, so he looks away. And when he comes to look back at Charlie, he's handing him an umbrella, and the, like, laugh that he, like, soft laugh that he lets out, like, here I am thinking, I'm asking him to keep this a secret, and he's going to tell me that he wants nothing to do with me. But he says it's okay and gives me an umbrella for my walk home. Of course this baby angel is going to accept me.
Yes. Also, can I talk about this umbrella for a moment?
Yeah.
I have to credit our friend Nicolette for this, because she's the one who pointed it out to me. The umbrella is blue on one side and yellow on the other side. And there's going to be a few more. I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now because I want us to like talk about the things that are happening. But at this moment, Charlie holds the umbrella out with the yellow side towards Nick and the blue side towards Charlie, which is interesting because if we associate any color with these children, yellow is the Charlie color, blue is the Nick color. And when Nick takes it Nick has the blue side towards him, yellow side towards Charlie. And then Nick steps out and is standing under the blue side of the umbrella. And
very interesting.
Yes, and then things happen, and I'll point out other things with the umbrella as they occur.
The attention to detail that they went into is just like insane.
So they say goodbye, and Nick leaves. And within seconds, Charlie grabs his shoes without tying them.
Which, like, how did he run in those is what I want to know.
Okay, no, here's the thing. In the next shot, when we see him running down the sidewalk, it looks like they're tied.
I'm sure they were for the running shot.
So I don't, like, I don't know if it was a continuity error, if, like, they just, I don't know, something.
I think it was probably just to show the urgency that he tossed him on and went out. But then for Joe to actually be able to run down the sidewalk, they were like, okay, you can tie him.
Run down the sidewalk in the rain.
Yeah.
Also, sans coat or umbrella. So now we have the parallel of, like, Nick ran after Charlie in the rain. Now Charlie's running after Nick. And it's so sweet.
Yep.
He catches up and Nick asks if he forgot something.
He's so confused.
He's like, oh. And at this point, Nick is under the blue side of the umbrella still. And Charlie is under the yellow side of the umbrella. And Charlie, like, looks around to make sure that no one is watching. And kisses Nick. And then leaves.
Yeah.
Nick just has this giant smile on his face, which
he has never been happier.
Never been happier. And we get another one of the rainbow lens flares.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if you'll notice, Nick is standing under the, like, he's, like, right under the line.
The middle.
That separates the blue and the yellow. But then when he turns to leave, now he's under the yellow side. And it's, like, the way that it moves, like, it's so clear how intentional it is that, like, where the, like, blocking is underneath this umbrella. And I love that.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah, that's a good catch. I hadn't really noticed. I knew that at the end he was in between, like, kind of on the line of it. But I hadn't paid attention to before. Just because him standing there in the rain, smiling like an idiot, is such an iconic comic shot.
Shout out to Nicolette for pointing that out to me.
Yeah.
Smart. The first time we talked about Heartstopper, it was, like, one of the first things that we talked about the series.
I love that. So then we cut to Nick walking up to the picnic tables where Imogen is waiting. And she can immediately tell that something is different.
Yes, and she thinks it's his hair, which is super accurate. Kids are obsessed with whenever their friends or classmates change their hair. To, like, the point where, anytime in the morning, anytime there's a kid who has a haircut, who's gotten a haircut, they either, like, have a hat on that they refuse to take off, or they have their hood up, and we don't allow hoodies in our school. Dress code, whatever. And, like, as soon as the kids see it, they lose their shit. Kids are obsessed. Or, like, even when, like, the teachers change their hair, if it's noticeable.
Interesting.
So, like, just the fact that she assumed that it was his hair, kind of, I was like, yep, that tracks. But then Imogen is kind of, like, flirting by messing with his hair, which Nick doesn't like, which is relatable. I also don't like when people mess with my hair.
Yeah. But he doesn't convey it very well because he's too busy on his Charlie high. Yeah,
and, like, he kind of, like, from Imogen's perspective, it, like, you could get the...
Yeah, she misinterprets it as being directed towards her instead of just him being...
Like, almost like he's flirting back.
Right, exactly. Especially after she walks away and then turns around and he is still sitting there, like, blushing and grinning. Like, that is understandably misinterpreted by Imogen.
Yes. And then we get one of my favorite Imogen lines. It's because of the delivery. But she says, "Don't worry, I'm a highly qualified hairstylist of hairstylists."
Yeah, it's so good.
I love it.
This is a super cute interaction, even though we know that it's not gonna, like, it's kind of, like, awkward and weird to see, because we know, like, all the backstory, but a super cute scene.
Yes. And then Imogen has to go because she remembers she has morning detention.
Which I've never heard of.
I haven't either. It seems less effective. Because it's like,
I mean, I guess depending on like how late is she? Because like if she was supposed to be there like hella early,
yeah,
then maybe I could see it being super effective. But like if it's just like 30 minutes before the school starts, like whatever.
I have a lot of questions because like my other thing is like you want the detention to be, I guess like it's like a social time.
Fair.
And with detention, you want to be taking them out of a social situation, which is like often why, like my school, we do lunch detention where you get your food and then you go sit in a room and be sad.
Right.
While all your friends are hanging out and socializing.
That sounds effective.
For
50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
60-40, but that 40% makes sure you know that they don't care if they have lunch detention. But so she leaves, but she gets one last hair ruffle in, and my whole body just goes,
yeah.
Cause
I know. I was like, oh, my sweet little clueless girl.
Yes. But like also at the same time, like I do that also to Eddie sometimes to be silly. But normally I obtain his consent first. But that's marriage for you.
Oh, so then we cut to another direct parallel to our series Open, where Charlie
is walking down the hallway,
beaming, so happy on his way to see a cute boy. But this time, his boy is there.
Yes, and also the shot in form mirrors the first time we see Nick, because the camera cuts away from Charlie, and someone's in the way, and then they move. And my notes for this scene say, and this is in all caps, Nick looks so happy to see Charlie. I am not okay. Code blue, send help. I am unwell. They're so cute and so happy.
My note is, Nick, can we keep this a secret? Also, Nick, staring at Charlie, smiling from ear to ear and blushing and giggling.
Yes.
Not subtle, my guy.
Yes. For the listeners who cannot see the Skype call right now, my mouth was full of tea, but I was just nodding aggressively the whole time to what Ashley just said.
They're so obvious. It's so adorable.
But they're so cute and so happy.
I know.
And I love them.
And they're like actively not touching, but they also like can't stop looking at each other and giggling.
They can't stop smiling. Like I'm like,
yeah,
my cheeks hurt just looking at them.
Right. Also, there's when Charlie walks into the classroom and he like pauses for a second and then he starts to walk. You can see a poster on the wall there, and I misread it the first time. I thought it said burgers, and I was like, what? And I was like, do they post like what's for lunch on the door of every class? And I went back and it says glaciers, so I need to get my eyes checked. Like that makes a lot more sense.
That does make a lot more sense because we've established that this is a science classroom.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Higgs, and Tara and Elle are there, and Darcy is like arriving and goes to sit down, and Tara's just kind of like staring at Darcy.
Yeah.
And Darcy's like,
with such like her face is like very like mischievous and like,
yes,
I'm about to do something.
Yes. And then
Darcy's like, what?
Yeah. And Tara kisses her, and Darcy's like, oh, hi.
And Elle is like, oh my God. They're everywhere. Yeah, so Tara and Darcy are getting bolder.
Yeah. And seeing Tara and Darcy being all cute and lovey in class prompts her to text Tao back that she misses him too.
The pining is so strong.
Yes. They're in love even if they don't know it. I think they do know it. They just are scared to admit it. Yep. And then we cut to everyone's favorite art teacher.
Oh my God, he's so good.
He's great. I love him. At 3 different points in the last 24 hours, I have stated that Mr. Ajay, Isaac, and Tori are all my favorite characters.
Nice.
That they're my favorite character, like full. I'm like, oh my God, I love Tori. She's my favorite character. Oh my God, I love Mr. Ajay. He's my favorite character. Oh my God, I love Isaac. He's my favorite character. But so Charlie comes to the art room and passes by Mr. Ajayi, who's like, there's a boy in there waiting for you.
And he's like, which one is it?
Is it the secret boyfriend or the straight boy crush? And I wrote, and I said, this should be Charlie's inner monologue. Well, the straight boy crush turned out not to be straight, and so now he's my secret boyfriend, but in a good way, not in a shitty way like the last secret boyfriend. But instead of that, Charlie says, he's on the rugby team. I joined the rugby team.
And the way he says it, like, so dreamy when he's like, he's on the rugby team. And he's like, I joined the rugby team.
It's great.
And Mr. Ajayi is like, of course you did. So good.
His face is perfect.
Yeah.
He's the best teacher. Then he tells them not to get crumbs on the floor or else he'll get told off by the cleaners. Again. Which I think was just his way of saying, well, don't make a mess making out in my art room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nick says he missed Charlie. And then Charlie's like, but we saw each other in form like 4 hours ago. But 4 hours is a lot in high school time.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like crushing on someone really hard.
Mm-hmm. And they start holding hands under the table still.
Featuring 4 chewed up wads of gum.
Yeah.
Which, and then I wrote, accurate.
Yeah. Ugh,
it is a truth universally acknowledged that every school table has several chewed up wads of gum. One of those was really fresh, though. Like, same day fresh. It was gross. I was
I'm
like,
sad you know that.
I am also sad that I know it, but it is a fact of life when you teach tweens and teens.
For sure.
They're so cute, flirting. I love them.
And Nick says Mr. Ajayi was giving him evils before Charlie got there. And Charlie admits that Mr. Ajayi knows about Ben and the keeping him a secret thing. And when he says that, Nick's face completely falls. All of that guilt he's been pushing down comes right straight up to his face.
Charlie reassures Nick that what Ben did is not the same as what they are doing, which is true. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've been there where I've experienced or like been in a situation where I've known about abuse or other like kinds of mistreatment, and I've just been hyper aware of anything that might even look slightly like that. And the thing that a lot of people always say is like, well, the fact that you're aware of it means that you're not doing it. Like the fact that you're worried about this is a good sign. And I wish that I could tell Nick that, like, dude, this is not the same.
Yeah.
But all of his guilt.
And he like slips his hand out of Charlie's a little bit. And Charlie's like, no. And like pulls him back.
Yeah.
And squeezes his fingers and is like, this is not the same. You're nothing like him. And Nick concedes, but he still looks very worried and uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I know a lot of it is not even just like that he's asking Charlie to keep it a secret, like Ben asked him to keep it a secret, but also the guilt of, like, God, what's wrong with me? If only I could figure my shit out, we wouldn't have to keep this a secret. Because the big thing is that he doesn't know, like, what this is for him yet. And that really is the big thing. Like, he's not ready to come out as anything because he doesn't know what anything he is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like different layers to the guilt, and I just want to hug him and tell him that it's all okay.
I know. His little face.
Kit is so good at looking sad.
Yeah.
And making me sad.
It's true. So then we go to rugby
practice, and Charlie is too scared to tackle anybody.
Yeah. And Nick and Charlie are on the same team because they both have on the yellow bibs.
Ooh, nice. I didn't notice that. But Otis is, like, really frustrated. Apparently it's the third time that Charlie is kind of, like, noped out of tackling someone.
I love that line delivery. For the third time! It's so good. And it's so good.
Otis is not a large person. Otis is, like, a small, compact person. And, like, it just, like, explodes out of him.
Yeah, and his arms go out. He's like, ah!
It's great.
So good. I laugh every time.
Yeah, my note says Otis is frustrated, Harry sucks. And then Coach Singh tries to be helpful. So apparently Charlie has to play in the match with St. John's next week because Kieran has an apparently unavoidable dentist appointment and Charlie will need to play. And Charlie says he'll be fine. And Coach Singh gives the advice to try not to worry about getting hurt and just throw yourself into it. And I'm like, excuse me, Coach Singh, have you looked at Charlie? He is a twig. If he throws himself into something, every bone in his body will break. And Charlie says that it's hard to be confident when everyone thinks you're a stereotypical gay boy who can't do sports. And I have feelings about what Coach Singh says.
I think she's personally offended because she's an obvious lesbian.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. So Coach Singh says a lot of gay people do sports, and like definitely there's like a little bit of like offendedness to it. And in the comics, we know that Coach Singh is married to a woman. We don't know if she's bi or a lesbian, but she does give off more lesbian vibes. But so what I wrote was that number one, I'm really excited to get more Coach Singh development in the future. I'm really excited to get more everybody development in the future, though.
I'm ready for all of the teachers in season 2. Give me more.
Yes. And then I was like, I get what she's trying to say, but there is a disconnect because number one, there is a difference between like the stereotypical gay boy and the stereotypical lesbian. And I think that there's more space for lesbians to be perceived as athletic. That is not the case with gay, especially using the phrase gay boy. Like instead of like gay man, like it's very the phrasing. And I'm like, I get what you're trying to do here, but you're not being as reassuring as you think you are. And also because the thing is, her comment doesn't actually address his concern. Because he says it's hard to be confident when everyone thinks you're a stereotypical gay boy. Not that he is a stereotypical gay boy who can't do sports. So the problem, it's not that he thinks he isn't good, it's that the rest of the team thinks that.
Yeah.
And that's what's getting into his head. Because in that montage in Meet, we see Charlie like increase his confidence as a rugby player. And really the thing that's fucking with him is Harry being a dickhead.
Yeah. And her tone doesn't help. It's judgmental and it's harsh.
She's taking it personally in a way that like I very much am like, you mean well, but your execution, poor.
Yeah. Also, when it cuts to her telling him that he has cone duty and they start to have this conversation, his yellow bib is gone and everybody else still has theirs on in the background. So I want to know where his bib went.
I wonder if that's just a continuity error.
Probably.
Or if he stopped playing. I'm going to assume it was a continuity error.
Yeah, I don't see him stopping. Even after the Otis's blowout, I still think he would have kept going.
Yeah. And then we see Charlie practicing on what I have very accurately described as a tackle practice dummy thingy. And now Eddie played football in high school, and so I summoned him while I was watching this. I summoned him into the room, and I was like, what would you call that thing? Because, you know, football, American football is a tackling sport. So I was like, you've probably used these. And he was like, I don't know. But he looked it up, which I had no interest in doing because where's the fun in that when you could say the tackle-y, practice-y, dummy thingy. Right. But apparently it's called a tackle. Apparently it's called a tackle bag.
Tackle bag.
Which is boring. That's a boring name. Yeah. It's an apt name, but it's boring. And yeah, so we just get this like little montage of him running and tackling this dummy.
And I think it's so fitting that the song that's playing is called Heart.
Yes.
Because he does have a lot of heart. And yeah, he joined the rugby team for Nick. But now he's a part of the team and he doesn't want to let his team down. He doesn't want to let his coach down.
Yeah.
So he is going to try to ramp himself up and get ready for this game where he plans to make an actual effort. And so solid song choice.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then we go to Higgs, and we're going to play a game that I like to call Spot the Gay. Because we see these two conversations, and each of these conversations, one of the people involved is definitely queer and just not out yet. I love this so much. So
such a good scene.
The first group, we have some like older students, presumably around the same age as our main characters. And the first one says, well, apparently they were kissing at Harry's party, like properly kissing. And then the second girl says, yeah, well, some girls who are friends just do that.
Just do that. Said every baby gay ever.
Yes. And I love the look that the first girl gives, that she like kind of like rolls her eyes and is like, no.
No.
like what the fuck are you talking about? And then we cut to some younger girls who I would say are probably like middle school aged, so like 12, 13-ish. And the first one says, actually, when you think about it, there are 1,200 people at the school, so at least a few of them are going to be lesbians. And then
my favorite.
And then this adorable baby girl, this adorable child says, maybe you're a lesbian and you have no idea.
And her eyes are so wide, and the other girl's mind is blown. She's like, fuck.
Although, okay, so it's very clear who the gay person in the previous conversation is. Which one of these two girls do you think is the gay person? And is it both of them?
I think it's both.
I think it's both of them. The two of them are going to make out before they graduate.
Yes.
They're the like friends, like the lifelong friends who end up dating and then it ends horribly. And that is their lesbian origin story.
Yeah.
Because everyone has one. Everyone has that one friend who you fall in love with and it's a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
That is the headcanon I have about these two little tweens here. I also love the fact that these like extras or like, you know, these like background actors in 30 seconds make enough of an impression for us to be able to have this conversation.
Right.
It's just really good attention to detail.
So good.
And I want to credit A. Ross a lot for that, because when you're working with young actors like that, especially like presumably unexperienced background actors, a lot of that comes down to the direction.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really well done there.
Mm-hmm.
So then we cut to the cafeteria and everyone is staring at Tara and Darcy.
And whispering. And just like being very, like, it's very obvious that everyone is talking about them. Yep. And Darcy looks really annoyed, but Tara looks like she's trying to fold in on herself and disappear.
Yes. Tara is on the struggle bus, and I want to hold her.
Which we have to remember that Darcy's out and has been out.
Yeah. And this is really...
And so this is really probably Tara's first experience of, like, in-person discrimination like this.
Yeah. And it's really weighing on her, and you can see it. Yeah. And then Imogen comes up just to add insult to injury.
Oh my god. This Imogen.
This is peak Imogen. There are other like Imogen moments in later episodes that I like more because of like the character development, but this is peak Imogen Heaney right here.
I love her attitude. I love her line delivery. The way she's like, you guys have this all wrong.
Yeah. Oh my god. But like, so she wants to know if Tara and Nick are a thing, or if she's with that girl you kissed at Harry's party.
Ooh, that really tears Darcy up.
That pisses Darcy off. She says Tara literally kisses her girlfriend at a crowded party, and people are still asking her if she's dating a guy she kissed once when she was 13, which, excellent line delivery. Kizzy, killing it. This is a great Darcy episode.
It is. It really is.
Kizzy kills it. I mean, Kizzy always kills it. But this is a great Darcy episode.
This is like one of several great line deliveries from this episode.
Oh yeah. And Imogen just wants to, she's just like, I just wanted to check because me and Nick are like basically together.
Yeah. Which, my sweet, sweet clueless girl.
I love that, like, Elle calls her on it, and she immediately dials it back. And then she's like, but we look cute together. And she shows this picture, and Nick just looks uncomfortable. I'm like, they don't.
Like, why are we taking this photo? Oh, man. They're on two very different pages.
Oh, yeah. And then we get the greatest Imogen line, where she says, I'm not, like, homophobic. I'm an ally. Tara and Darcy are having none of it.
They are over it.
Yes. But I actually wrote down, like, Tara says, congratulations. Darcy says, we thank you for your service. And then I say, okay, but like, Imogen, do you mean ally isn't actually straight and actually an ally, or at least someone who thinks they're an ally, or ally as in figuring shit out and actually queer? Because I was totally an ally in high school too. And look how that turned out. So I'm like,
I'm like on the fence about Imogen, because obviously I want more queer characters, but also I really like the idea of like Nick's straight girl best friend.
I do love that, but I also already ship Imogen and Sahar. So
I know. I just like feel the same amount both directions.
Yes.
So I guess I'm going to be pleased either way they go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I could get bi girl vibes from Imogen.
Yeah.
Like, I can see it, especially with her hair. That's bi girl hair.
Yeah, the hair is.
But
also, I have a question. Everybody knows that it was Tara, but no one knows Darcy's name. Like, why is it Tara and some girl?
I know, that's weird.
It's not like they weren't best friends. Like, everyone should know that that's Darcy, who's always with Tara anyway. Like, yeah, it's a weird that no one is using Darcy's name.
Yeah, it's peculiar. So we go to Trua, and Tao and Isaac are eating lunch, and God, I fucking hate Tao. Tao thinks that Charlie is eating lunch with Nick, and that he's been eating lunch with Nick a lot. Isaac is reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, which is the first book in that trilogy. And my note here says, that's a good book. The end of the third one goes a bit off the rails, but it's an enjoyable read. This is definitely a lighter read for Isaac, even though it's a trilogy that's a murder mystery and has lots of suspense and tension. Like, I read it in a weekend. So
okay.
For Isaac, like, it's going to be a quick read for him. And actually, he's reading an entirely different book later in this episode. So I thought that was interesting that they chose to do that. But then Isaac, he's like, well, they're in the honeymoon phase. And Tao is like, it's not like they're dating. Unless they are.
Unless they are, which is his way of being like, open your fucking eyes, bro.
Oh my God. I love Isaac. What I wrote here was he is incredible and wise beyond his years, probably from all the books. In The Great Gatsby, this is, okay, I'm turning on my like English major teacher thing right now. In this essay, I will. So in The Great Gatsby, there is a character who appears in only 2 scenes called, and the narrator of the book, Nick Carraway, nicknames this person Owl Eyes for several reasons. The most obvious of which is that he has like big, like Coke bottle kind of glasses that make his eyes look big like an owl's. However, it's The Great Gatsby, so everything is symbolism. And the other thing with calling him Owl Eyes is because this character like represents like perception and seeing the truth, and speaking that truth in a lot of ways. And Isaac reminds me a lot of Owl Eyes. It's just like, you know, those like characters that stick with you. Owl Eyes is one of them. Like, he just keeps coming up in my brain, just like. But yeah, Isaac, very much this kind of like perpetually around, but kind of in the background kind of character who sees everything and knows what's going on. Yeah, he knows what's up with Nick and Charlie. He knows what's up with Tao and Elle. He's incredible and wise beyond his years.
Yeah.
I love him.
Nick walks up with the Rugby boys, which tells us that Charlie's not with Nick.
Obviously.
So where is he? Why is he hiding alone?
Yeah. Where is Charlie? And I still don't get the like vitriolic hatred that Tao has for the Rugby boys. it's like such a deep-seated, like, core tenet of his identity that he hates the Rugby boys. Mm-hmm. And I'm like...
A lot of it goes back to Charlie's bullying.
Yeah.
And Harry being, like, the biggest bully in school, basically. True. But, like, none of the Rugby boys ever do anything to stop him or jump in any way. And so I would lump them all together, too.
That's fair.
Even though it's not the whole team that's singling me out, the others are basically supporting him by standing around and laughing. And I think that makes sense, especially in high school. Your emotions are, like, intense about everything. Yeah. So even just, like, someone who, like, says one thing to you one time, you're gonna hate them for a while.
Yeah.
Imagine it being constantly every day, multiple times a day. So
that's fair.
I think I get it.
I also just don't like what happens now. Like, I don't like this moment. It makes me angry. So Harry, Nick, and, like, half of the Rugby team walk past, and Harry, being the piece of shit that he is, throws the rugby ball towards Tao and Isaac, tells them to catch it, and it hits Tao in the head. Presumably on purpose, because Harry is good at rugby.
Right.
Nick goes to pick it up and, like, is trying to be nice and make sure Tao is okay. And Tao refuses to give the ball back and says, no, it's mine now. Like, it very much has this, like, tone and this air of, like, I have the power in this moment, and if I can't have Charlie anymore, then you can't have the ball, which is stupid. But, like, I also can see that being, like, angry high school teenager logic. So Nick just, like, walks away. Like, he's not gonna fight. He sees that this isn't worth the time or energy. And he walks away, and Tao throws the ball at the back of his head. Why?
Hard.
Yeah, and I'm just like, why? I'm like, Nick, why? Why, Tao? Why? And I know the answer is that
Isaac is uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. I know the answer is just, like, teenager testosterone bullshit, but it makes me mad. I don't like it.
And, like, to get back at them for throwing it at him first and all of that. But then also devil's advocate, like, Nick shouldn't have rejoined that. Like, he should have left. Just go somewhere else instead of going back. It's a bad look for Nick.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's, like, really worried about impressing Tao and Charlie's friends. And so there's all this, like, whirlwind of emotion going on in him. Like, he doesn't want to give his friends any clue that anything is off. But he also, like...
Yeah, Nick is in a really difficult position in this scene. And I end up feeling like... I think that the episode is trying to make us feel this way, but I end up, like, feeling more empathy for Nick in this scene than I do for Tao. Also, just the way that Kit acts with his fucking back turned.
I know.
I'm like, God fucking damn it. But I have a lot more empathy for Nick in this moment than I do for Tao. But, like, also, like, we've established that I don't like Tao. Yes, he's making it really hard. Like, I'm like, I understand where you're coming from, dude, but you're making it really hard for me to feel for you. And if I were Tao's teacher, I know exactly what I would say to him in this instance. And I tell him, I'm like, yes, I understand that you're frustrated, but retaliating and, like, pushing back like this isn't going to accomplish anything except getting you in trouble as well. And that's just going to make you more upset.
Then we pull up outside St. John's, and they are doing their warm-up run.
And all of Charlie's friends are coming. Just so nice.
So the way that Nick says, all of your friends are coming, you know, he's like, shit, okay, Tao's coming then. So has he told Charlie about this altercation? Like, am I in trouble? How do I make it better? What's going on? And then Charlie's like, don't worry, I won't say anything about us. And he says, oh, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Thanks. Because that is the last thing that was on his mind in this moment.
I also think, too, there's, like, this little bit of concern of all your friends are coming and you're going to get your ass kicked. Because especially with the way that Nick is like, oh, yeah, I'm like, oh, he wasn't thinking about it from that angle. I was like, oh, you know that St. John's is...
Why did no one warn Charlie?
I know. I'm like, I think it was so that they could make the literal adult men joke, but
But he
someone should have told him,
especially as the reserve that's playing his
against
first game
this
ever.
Fucking doped up school of professional athletes.
Jesus.
So anyway, before we get to that, you're gonna have to fill in the gaps, because my only note about Harry coming up here just says "fuck off, Harry," and I didn't write anything else down. What happened? I don't remember.
He comes up and tells Charlie that they're counting on him today.
Right.
Basically poking his insecurities. I think he says, like, you're not gonna chicken out on us or something. And then he's like, we're all counting on you.
Fuck off, Harry.
Yeah. And then the gang is here.
And Charlie goes to say hi and meets Tara and Darcy. And I love Darcy's whole look. The braids, the outfit. I love it. It's great. I want it. I wish that I could French braid my hair.
Yeah. The backpack,
perfect.
Everything. So good.
Darcy announces that she's mainly here to get acquainted with the local gays.
Which tracks.
I mean, mainly she's here because Tara's here.
Right.
But then she says that Charlie and Nick are looking suspiciously coupley.
And Charlie is not.
He freaks the fuck out. He's worried, like, what, if there have been rumors?
She says, no, nothing but my gay intuition.
Says that he and Nick are totally platonic good friends. Which is totally a thing that platonic good friends say about each other.
But also, that's another Kizzy line read that's so good when they're like, are you friends?
Friends.
Friends.
It's excellent.
But Nick is standing there stretching, and he's watching all of this happen, and you can see that he's like slowly dying on the inside a little bit. Because this is Nick fucking Nelson, who wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's not used to hiding
anything,
his emotions or, his feelings. And so this is really hard for him. And it also comes with all the baggage of Charlie's past history. And so while it's also eating away at him that he can't that it's just hard not to express stuff, it's like, how much am I hurting this person also? And then Imogen comes by arm in arm with Ben.
Yeah, why?
My note is, honestly, for someone who is trying to get with Nick, she's doing a real good job of looking like she's into Ben. Maybe that's why he's so clueless.
Maybe. So what's really funny is, because Eddie and I were watching the first 3 episodes yesterday, and Eddie actually at first thought Imogen was the girl that Ben was kissing.
Ooh.
She's not, but I feel like it's a... You could easily mistake that. I could see where... And I had to clarify it, and it changed the entire read of the situation. Eddie was really confused why she was flirting with Nick. He was like, wasn't she just kissing Ben? But no, she's very...
Yeah, because she's always near him and touching
I think she's just a very touchy person.
And I'm very... Yeah, she is. And I'm super interested to see, what they do with that in season 2.
But I'm also just really interested to see what they do with any of the Ben stuff.
Season 2 in general.
There's just so many things where I'm like, what are you doing here? Not in a bad way, just in I trust you, but I don't see the vision yet. So the game starts, and Charlie asks why the St. John's players are literal adult men. And Nick explains that it's a specialized sports school, which I guess just means it's okay to give your students anabolic steroids, because that's the only way that these people look like this.
Number 2 has scary thighs. That was one of my notes. Number 2's thighs are scary. They're so thick.
I like it. But I'm like, what? I'm like, huh? Tara and Darcy are also concerned about the largeness of the St. John's players. They run past and they just, Tara just goes, oh.
Also, I really like Elle's
the little hairband, the blue and yellow bands are really, really cute. The game starts. Nick does a kickoff thingy. That's the technical term. Right, Georgie? That's the technical term. And Then we see Imogen cheers, "Come on, Nicholas."
Come on, Nicholas!
She always calls him Nicholas, and it's weird. I think she thinks that that's flirty, but it's just kind of weird. And Ben says, "Harry, don't let the game go soft." And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
I don't know what it means, but I think he just wanted to say Harry and soft in the same sentence.
This is no, I'm not even gonna I can't. No, I'm just like, I think what he's trying to say is like, this is gonna be a hard game. Don't let it just be this other school wiping the floor with you guys. I think that's what he means, but it's weird.
That sounds right, yeah. It's a weird way to put it, yeah.
Tao, Elle, Isaac, Tara, and Darcy do not remember the rules of rugby.
Me either. My note says, as much as Georgie told us, I still have no idea what's going on here.
But it doesn't take an expert to know that this is not going well for the Truum boys.
No.
They're getting tackled left, right, and center. It's rough. And then it starts to rain. I like the little score cards that come up a couple times. The first one says St. John's 14, Truum 0. At which point I realized we forgot to ask Georgie about how rugby scoring works.
A very important question.
But I looked it up because I had a hypothesis that, because I was like, okay, so St. John's score is 14. So I was like, does this work like football scoring? And the short answer is yes, it works like football scoring. So essentially, you get 5 points for a try, which is essentially what we would understand in American football as a touchdown. And then you can essentially kick a field goal for 2 more points. And then there's other ways to score points, but that was irrelevant to my current hypothesis. something penalty kick, something 3 points. That part was more complicated, but for our purposes, we only need to know that the scoring essentially works the same as football. If that is an oversimplification, I apologize. I did not sports. Well, I was a competitive swimmer, but it's a very different thing, you know? I didn't sports ball.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, as soon as the rain starts, my first thought, the first time I watched this was, oh my God, I hope Isaac has a backpack for his book.
Yes, I didn't notice the book until a little bit later, but the book we see soon is well protected. The book is okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we see Charlie get tackled, and Nick just calls out in concern. I'm like, dude, you're trying to keep it a secret. You're not doing a good job.
Instant. And it's so filled with worry, too. Like, it's very obvious that Nick is very concerned about Charlie.
Then we see all of Charlie's friends are also very worried. And then we see Ben laughing.
And Imogen doesn't laugh, but she doesn't not laugh also. It's not a good look.
Yeah. But I feel like for Imogen also, it's just like she doesn't have any like interaction or history with Charlie. So
yeah. But I'm sure she's heard them talk shit.
Oh, yeah,
about
definitely.
Him. And he gets up and everybody yells, good job, Charlie. And Tara tells him to shake it off.
My next note is about Harry saying that number 14 has a crush on Charlie or something. It was a weird interaction. And I was like, obviously Harry is playing mind games, but for why? So then at this point is where I noticed that Isaac had a book. Which, relatable. I cannot tell you how many of my brother's soccer games I brought books to. But the book he's reading, right, noticeably is not one of the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder books. It is Proud, My Autobiography by Gareth Thomas, who apparently is a retired gay rugby player.
Oh, he's doing research.
Yes, and I love it so much that this is such an Isaac way of trying to support his friend. It's like, I know jack shit about this, so I'm going to read a book about rugby. And of course, the one that he chooses is the autobiography of the gay rugby player. Presumably not the only one.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
That's cute.
It's so sweet. And that was actually the intention behind it, because that article that I'm always talking about talked about how they wanted it to be like Isaac is trying to like learn more about rugby in order to support Charlie.
Buddy, I love that.
So sweet. I love him. I love all of them except Tao.
Who's panicking at this point because Harry has his arm
Charlie,
around
and he's like really worried. And Elle tries to be positive and says that maybe they're friends, which we know is false. But also Tao says that that would be worse because then Charlie would bring the entire rugby team to film nights and make them watch Avengers. To which I said that's only fair for making them watch Donnie Darko. Because Donnie Darko is a good movie, but it's fucking weird. And so...
yeah, it's a lot to get through. But Elle has to put him in his place after that.
Yes. Oh my god, yeah. Tao tells Elle to take this seriously because their friendship group is falling apart. And Elle is having none of it. None of it. And then I said, which is good because I too am having none of it. If anyone is creating rifts in the friendship group, it's Tao, not Charlie. And yeah, she's like, I didn't come here to face all of the truant boys who used to bully me for you to say that everything is falling apart. And I'm
we're all here together right now. How are we falling apart? Just because you're feeling insecure in your relationship with Charlie and I'm at a different school doesn't mean that we're falling apart.
But I also, like, when I think about it, like, so much of, like, how you make friends and how you interact with your friends in high school is just based on proximity and, like, being in the same classes, going, like, so, like, I kind of get it, but I'm also just like, no.
I think I would have more space for it if we hadn't already seen him be like this nonstop.
Definitely.
And like, you know, if this was the first or second time we had him acting like this, I could hold more space. And I'm the apologist. I could hold more space for it. But it's not a good look, man.
It just, like, the whole time, like, every time he says stuff, I'm like, Tao, all you're doing is, like, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're gonna you're gonna be the cause of it because you're convinced it's happening. So then we see the score is now 35-0. And Charlie gets tackled again, and he goes down hard. And his nose is bleeding. And he's like, shaking. Like it's not a good hit. Which he's probably fucking cold. Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, the rain is really bad. So when this happens, Nick freezes and flashes back to the conversation that they have at the beginning of the episode where he asks if they can keep it a secret. And I said, presumably because he wishes he could do something to help Charlie without outing himself. Yeah, because he screams his name and then looks up and he looks at Ben and all of them standing over there laughing. And then he looks at Charlie's friends and that's when it zooms in on him because he's like, everyone's here. I can't do anything. And in Nick's memory, Charlie looks a lot more upset. It just breaks my heart. And also, like, in the flashback, we have, like, the rain, like, animated onto the screen, and we hear the rain. Yeah. So then we cut back, and Coach Singh calls the game because the rain is too dangerous. And I have 2 questions. First question, why didn't the ref call the game? Where is the ref? And then my other question is Coach Singh calling the game not just a forfeit? I mean, they were losing it. They were 35-0 at that point. Yeah, I'm like, well, because later on, Nick says the match was canceled. Like, I'm like, so does it just not count? How is this not just Coach Singh forfeiting the game? I'm sure that's what it came down to. Like in the, I would have to assume so in like the official records. Not that it would matter much because they were gonna lose anyway. Right? Who fucking knows? It was weird. I also want to point out that while Nick is frozen and it's like going back and forth, you can see Harry in the background
surprisingly not laughing and actually looking at Charlie like a little bit concerned. And I was like, interesting. I wonder if that was a mistake in the
I'm
filming,
also like,
or
I could hold space for like you see someone go down like that, and there is like a visceral like response that you have when something like that happens.
I just don't trust Harry to have that response typically.
I don't know. I didn't pick up on that, but I feel like it could go either way. I feel like Cormac is good enough at being like a slimy piece of shit that I don't think that it would slip. Yeah, so I don't know. Then we go to the medical office, and Nick is checking on Charlie.
And he sits down next to him, pressed up against his side.
Yes, right up against him.
Thigh on thigh.
Says his nose looks fine. But that he's got mud on his face. Which I'm like, you both have mud all over your everything.
Over you, yeah.
Like, clearly this is just Nick wanting to have like a tender moment to like dote on and take care of Charlie. Because he takes like a tissue or a wipe or something and is like cleaning his cheek.
It's so cute. And Charlie's looking at Nick like he hung the fucking moon. He's like batting his eyelashes.
Oh my God, it's so cute. But then Charlie apologizes for being clingy and annoying and thinks that he's messing things up. And Nick says he's the one who should be sorry. At which point I scream, neither of you should be sorry. Neither of you are doing anything wrong.
Right. Oh, our little anxious baby.
And then Isaac comes in.
With his shitty
just his knowing look. And claims that Coach Singh gave Isaac some antiseptic wipes to give to Charlie. And he does. He hands over. And I'm like, but what the fuck are...
Why are they not in the fucking room that they're in? Why?
And I'm also like, what are antiseptic wipes going to do for a nosebleed?
I guess I didn't think it was for his nose. I assumed he had like some
maybe. I just was like, I don't know. It just struck me as odd. But then Isaac leaves because he sees that they're having a moment. And Nick panics and says he should go. And Charlie says that Isaac won't say anything because Isaac already knows and he hasn't said anything yet. So
also, you can tell how like anxious Nick is when he stands up because he's like squeezing imaginary stress balls when he stands up.
I feel so bad.
Yeah, I wrote down that the intensity of the Tara Darcy inspiration kiss has completely worn off, and now he's back to reality with school and rugby, and he's panicking.
Yeah.
This has to be just like so overwhelming too, just like because he got a lot of negative information in his Google search. Yeah. And then also on top of that, he knows for a fact what hell Charlie went through when he came out, was forced out at school. So like all of that is on his mind. And
I'm sure he's also hearing a lot of the stuff about Tara and Darcy as well. Like, we don't see that on screen, but I'm sure that he's also seeing the reaction to Tara and Darcy, and that's definitely weighing on him as well.
Yeah, true.
And then we go outside, and we have Tao and Elle, and Tao is now convinced that Charlie's not going to give up on Nick, and maybe they should stop getting involved. And I'm almost proud of Tao.
I love Elle's reaction.
Yeah, she's like, you, the king of getting involved?
I can't believe you just said that.
And then he says that he was glad to meet Elle's new friends and that he likes Tara and Darcy. He wants to know if they've replaced Tao, Charlie, and Isaac, which Elle reassures him that they could never do because no one could replace his incredibly annoying, loud presence in her life.
This is his whole thing, right? He's horrified of the idea that he might be replaced and left behind. And we don't see his dad. We don't know anything about his dad. So I'm curious if did his dad leave and that's like the root of his abandonment issues?
I wouldn't be surprised. There's definitely something. That wouldn't surprise me.
And that's where most of like the issue with Tao comes from, is that he's so terrified of being left behind. And
everything changing and everything being different. Very anxious attachment. But yeah, no, I definitely can see that. So I really like the way that this next little sequence is framed of like Tao and Elle are up like above, and then from down below we hear Harry talking to Imogen. So then we cut down to like right outside the like locker area. And Harry asks if Imogen is finally ready to make a move. He's just kind of generally being an ass.
And again, I say, why you so interested, Harry? Where's your girlfriend?
Yeah. And he calls Imogen a coward. And Imogen's face.
Yeah, she took it as a challenge for sure.
Yeah, she's just like, oh, challenge accepted.
And poor Nick walks out, has no idea what he's walking into.
And he's in his feelings as it is.
Yeah.
And then he walks out and all of his friends are there. And Imogen is like, you did so good.
And he's like, why is everyone staring at us? What's going on?
Oh my God. And then she asks him out in front of all of their friends.
Yep.
And so what else can Nick do? And like the way he looks at everyone, he's like, fuck.
He looks like he's going to throw up.
Yeah.
So of course he says yes.
Yeah, of course he says yes. Because what else can you do in that moment?
Right. It's going to be so bad for both of you if you say no.
Yeah.
Worse for Imogen, but they would also give Nick shit.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. But I'm thinking about a lot of the different things that Nick says in the next episode. And I'm like, he's definitely thinking about her in this moment as well and trying to save face for both of them. So he says yes, and then the camera tilts up and we see that Tao and Elle are still there and they've been listening.
Yep. The whole
and
time.
Then the episode ends.
But before it cuts back to Tao and Elle, Imogen like happily walks back over and like giggles and grabs Ben and walks off. And I'm just like, you just know that motherfucker has been like gassing her up and trying to get her to talk to Nick so that he can keep Nick away from Charlie. I hate it.
Fuck you, Ben.
Ben Hope.
Listen, Sebastian Croft might be the president of the Ben Hope hate club, but I am the vice president. I am appointing myself to the role.
He is the worst.
So then the episode is over.
Yeah. What was your favorite quote?
So, unsurprisingly, it is, I'm having a proper full-on gay crisis.
Same.
We thank you for your service was a contender.
Yeah.
He's on the rugby team. I joined the rugby team, was a contender. But it's the most iconic line from the show. You can't not.
Yeah, I love it. How hard does your heart stop?
I had a hard time rating this one because it starts out really strong. And like I said, like I did say at the one point, like Code Blue, I need help, I am unwell, or whatever the fuck it was that I said. But I ended up giving it a 3.5 because like it's there and like I feel like the episode peaks. Like it peaks in the art room and then it kind of tapers off from there. It's a really well done episode, but I think it's my least favorite of the entire series thus far.
I would agree.
There's just a lot of rugby
and sadness.
And rugby and sadness. I was gonna say angst, but like in the really insufferable way, not in the relatable way. It feels like you have the beginning, which is essential, and then I'm just like, all right, can we get to episode 5?
Yeah. Yeah, I always forget because like I don't think about this one a lot, and then I remember that the first half of it is really good. It's like really good.
Like I literally my brain always thinks that the bowling sequence is in secret because I just like blank out the rugby game entirely.
Okay, I gave it a solid 3. And that's because I've decided I'm going to do kind of like a curved grading scale here because the last one was like so intense the entire time for me.
Yeah.
That of course it was blown out of the water. But like this one, I feel like there's a lot of my heart stopping. And then there's just like nothing after it, kind of like you said. It's like it just tapers out, and so I have to do like the median grade and not like what my heart wants to go for. So I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 because while my heart did stop, it was short-lived. And so
fair.
Also, I'm like, this episode feels shorter than the others, but is it just because there's a lot of rugby in it? And my brain's like, let's think about other stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a there episode. And like, as we've discussed, there's a lot that's really well done in it.
Mm-hmm.
It
is a bit of a filler
episode. There's more important things to come. And I'm just like, I want to get to Friend. Friend is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that about wraps up this week's episode. So, of course, this is a bi-weekly podcast by two bisexuals, which means we will be back in 2 weeks to talk about the aforementioned episode 5, Friend. That of bowling and excellent sweaters.
And we get Buzzkill.
Yes.
By Baby Queen. So if you want to follow us online, we are at Why Are We Cast on all platforms. And until next time.
Bye.
Bye.